Okay, so picture this. You're into custom trucks and you go to talk to an owner of a wicked build at a show or a customizer in a shop, and you hear terms like IRS and Bass Boat Flake. You may be thinking to yourself, what does fishing and doing taxes have to do with lower trucks? Well, if you are a novice in the truck world, talking to a serious enthusiast might be just as confusing as trying to have a conversation with someone who speaks an entirely different language, or even explaining to your grandma why you lowered your perfectly good truck. Well, my friends, if you find yourself lost in a conversation with others about trucks, fear not, as I have gathered a few common terms that you should know. I will also give you some explanation for all of them so you can talk the talk. Do note that this is also the second video I have done on truck terms, and there is no shortage of insider lingo. If you want to check out those previous terms, simply hit the link in the description below. For now, let's get on with my second round of lower truck vocabulary lessons. To start off, let's talk about patina, which is a very common term and is especially popular in the truck community. In the real world, patina is defined as a film that develops on metals when they become tarnished. And for truck folks, patina describes an old vehicle that has been weathered so much that the surface of the exterior is a bit damaged, but for the most part intact. You can also have a rusty truck exterior, but we typically don't want large holes. Until recently, it was unacceptable to not fully restore and paint these trucks. But lately, it has become a huge trend to build a truck like this and retain the weathered body. Obviously, this is an easier way to build a truck, as good paint work can cost anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000 to get a show quality finish. In contrast to high-end painted vehicles, it has become the norm to roll a patina truck and call it done. Some of the added appeal here is that the scars on the body visually tell the tale of these trucks to up the cool factor. While on this subject, there are those that fake patina, and for the most part, this is frowned upon. People want to see genuine aged trucks, and replicating it usually won't cut it in enthusiast eyes. With that being said, it's all about finding those hidden gems. Next up, we have flakes, and I'm not talking about people you can't rely on, though there are some just about everywhere. Anyways, when someone says that a truck has flake, they're referring to a paint job that has big reflective flakes that shimmer like glitter. Some people will also describe the style as having a bass boat paint job because it is very common to see boats done up in this manner. Though metal flake paint jobs originally used actual chips of metal, they are now made of small plastic pieces with a shiny coating. They are also available in a variety of colors and sizes to get the specific look you desire. The smaller flakes can be sprayed with a normal paint gun, but the larger ones require special guns to lay them down. Furthermore, these flakes don't necessarily lay down flat in paint and create a rough textured surface. In order to obtain a smooth flake paint job, 3 to 4 layers of clear coat may have to be sprayed to make sure that these flakes are completely buried. This obviously takes more expertise and time, making these paint jobs harder to execute. Moving on, let's discuss pinstriping, which is not about adding any pins with stripes on them. This term is also about specialized paint, but this one is laid down in finely shaped lines. From what I have gathered, the earliest forms of this were applied to safes and wagons in the Old West. Furthermore, it is also related to sign painting, as both take a skilled hand to apply. Pinstripes are the perfect way to add intriguing designs or even subtle breaks in single and multi-tone paint jobs. Though you can cheat here by masking areas to paint these lines, the more respectable approach is to lay them down manually. To achieve this look, painters use long, narrow-tipped brushes and skillfully apply smooth lines of paint to achieve the look they are after. When you hear the term rockers, you might think we are talking about fans of heavy guitar music, but that is not anything related to this, or even related to audio equipment. Anyways, rockers, or more specifically rocker panels, are pieces of sheet metal below the doors of a truck's cab. The intention of them is to protect the cab from getting excess damage from hitting things. I'm not sure where the name came from, but maybe it has to do with rocks possibly getting kicked up, and when these panels get hit, they basically get rocked. These panels very often see damage from a number of different reasons. First of all, they are one of the lower parts of your truck, and you can easily tweak them if your slam truck hits a big speed bump hard. The other cause of damage is from de-icing materials like salt, which can eat away at the material and cause rust. Rockers are also an expensive fix, as they are welded in and should be painted afterwards. Back when I was getting into custom trucks, I remember hearing the term IFS and thinking, what the heck is this? I soon found out that everyone was talking about adding independent front suspensions to trucks for better handling and drivability. This is important on old trucks as they came with either straight axles or obsolete suspension components. Nowadays, IFS truck systems are the norm on most two-wheel drive vehicles. However, not all of them lend well to lowering, and sometimes it is still best to swap in a new lowered IFS truck system to make everything function better. I think for most of us, the acronym IRS is something that triggers fear of owing money to the federal government. However, this is not something that scary in the truck world, but it is also something that is not so common. If you're familiar with the previous term, then it would not be surprising to figure out that IRS means independent rear suspension. The rarity of lowered IRS truck suspension is mostly due to cost and complexity of installing this type of equipment. Most trucks come with solid rear axles for simplicity, and switching over is a bit complicated. I've seen many people swap Corvette IRS components on Chevys and Jaguar systems on Fords when sourcing parts to keep costs down. I also know that a lot of chassis builders offer IRS systems as an option if you choose to go that route. Now you might be thinking, why would someone go through all this trouble for IRS? Well, first of all, IRS suspensions ride better and have the benefit of less space needed for drive shafts as they are in a fixed location as opposed to the movement you get on traditional trucks. The other reason is sheer cool factor as it would level up your build. Well, before modern suspension and chassis components were made available, it was a lot harder to get a truck down real low. Back in the day, suspension systems were real limiting, and if you wanted to seriously slam a truck, you might have had to add a Z to the frame. Basically what you would do here is you would cut the frame after the front suspension area, raise it up, and weld in new sections to reinforce the chassis. After performing this mod, the frame will look like it's had a Z pattern added, hence the name of this mod. Frame Zs are an old school way of getting trucks down low, and again, the product offerings out there pretty much eliminate the need for a Z in the frame unless you are on a budget. It's also an expert mod as you'll want to make sure everything lines up perfectly to ensure you don't botch the alignment of your frame. Alright, so the last of the acronyms for this go around is EFI. This is probably more general knowledge today, but a decade or two back this was very revolutionary. Anyways, EFI stands for electronic fuel injection, and it is a very popular way to fuel engines these days. If you ask me, it is also the most effective way to run the engine of your truck. The reason I think EFI systems are superior is that they are computer controlled to get the maximum power and efficiency of your truck's power plant. Even better, EFI systems will allow you to adjust everything to your liking, including ignition timing and air-fuel ratios. You can tune them to dump more fuel at high RPMs to get maximum performance and lean them up for better efficiency. The alternative is old-school carburetors, which can do a solid job of firing up your engine, but are very sensitive to air temperature and elevation. Honestly, for me, it's EFI for the win these days. Next up we have stacks. And no, I'm not talking about people that have large book collections, nor am I talking about tall exhaust on big rigs. When this term comes up for truck fans, it means stacked injection, which is super cool looking when equipped on an engine. It's different from using a single carburetor as this system uses multiple injectors with pressure to maximize fuel delivery and engine response. Though I will say that an old school stacked injection was designed for racing purposes and is notorious for being a pain when it comes to tuning, as they are very complex. However, having a stacked injection peeking from out of the hood of your truck is so wicked and gives off a menacing look. These days, boiler injection makes an EFI version for easier tuning, and it comes at a much higher cost. But man, does it add a unique cool factor to a custom truck. Alright, let's talk about what I think is the #1 biggest misused term in the automotive scene: Posi rear ends. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to truck owners and even builders about parts that they use, and they say Posi as if it's a general component. With that being said, I do want to set the record straight here. So what exactly is a Posi? Well, technically this is a specific style of limited slip differential, also known as an LSD, in a rear end that drives both wheels equally when power is applied. Posi is also short for positraction, which is GM's marketing term for this style of differential, which was equipped in some of their vehicles from factory. So what metaphorically grinds my gears is when somebody uses the term Posi to describe a limited slip differential, even though it may not be this specific clutch style diff. Anyways, the alternative is a gear style limited slip differential that utilizes gears that lock under power to perform the same task but in a more reliable way. On the other hand, a Posi style LSD rear end uses clutches to lock up, but they can slip and even wear out with time. Yeah, I know this is a bit technical, but hey, it bugs me when people use the word Posi as a blanket term. Well, topping off this list is donuts, and I think most of you would know that I'm not talking about the sweet treats that cops like to eat. I'm talking about swinging a truck around while shredding rubber. While we're bringing it up, I'd like to make it clear that this should be done in a manner to make a truck do complete circles while in sanctioned areas, not on public roads. I think a lot of people that attempt this only accomplish power slides, which is not technically donuts in my opinion. This is also best done in a truck with plenty of horsepower and a limited slip diff to get both rear wheels spinning for maximum miles per hour. Well, that just about does it for this video, and we thank you for watching it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future video, and we will catch you next time.